This is a short grammar presentation on articles, everybody's favourite part of English grammar. So, I bought a new car yesterday and the car is white. Basically, a is an article, the is an article. We're going to look at what makes them different and when we use each one. So, firstly, we use a or an only with singular countable nouns. You should look at the previous video on countable and uncountable nouns if you have any questions on what they are. We cannot use an with plural nouns or with uncountable nouns. The meaning of an is often very similar to one, basically, so we use it with singular countable nouns. I have an apple, I have one apple, more or less the same thing. We can use the with singular and plural nouns and with countable and uncountable nouns. So there's no problem with the, but a, only singular countable nouns. Okay, an example. I had a sandwich and an apple for lunch. The sandwich wasn't very good, but the apple was quite nice. We use a or an the first time we talk about the thing. So I had a sandwich and an apple, because it's the first time we talk about the sandwich, the first time we talk about the apple. Now, when I say later, the sandwich wasn't very good, which sandwich? What sandwich? The sandwich here, the sandwich I had for lunch. Which apple? The apple I had for lunch. So we use the when we already know which thing, we know which sandwich, we know which apple. Using the tells the person we're speaking to, we both already know which thing we're talking about. More examples of the same thing. A man and a woman were sitting next to me. The man was American, but I think the woman was British. Okay. A man, which man? We haven't talked about him before, so we use a man. Later, the man, which man? The man we talked about here, so we use the to show that it's the same person. A woman, the woman, same thing. We could say Tim sat down on a chair. Which chair? Just any chair, we don't know, it's not important. But if we say Tim sat down on the chair nearest the door, okay, which chair? The chair nearest the door. So we know which chair, we know which one we're talking about, so we use the. Aisha is looking for a job. A job. Which job? Well, she's looking for any job. A suitable job. Did Aisha get the job that she applied for? Which job? The one before that she applied for, so we know which one we're talking about. We've said an, probably already know. We use a before words beginning with a consonant sound, and we use an before words beginning with a vowel sound. Vowel sounds are a, e, I, o, u. Consonant is every other letter. So an apple, an idea, an uncle, an egg. A, I, or I, and e. We use a when we have a consonant sound. A table, a man, a car, a uniform. Look at this one, a uniform. The first letter is a vowel, but the first sound is a y. The sound can be different from the letter, so the important thing is the vowel sound. So here, a uniform, a car. Times we use a or an. We use it to say what someone's job is. So he's a doctor, Nora is a teacher. We have some expressions of quantity. For example, a pair of shoes. That's a nice pair of shoes. A little, we've got a little time. A couple of minutes, a couple of days. 100, a few, 3 times a day. So there's a lot of expressions of quantity where we use a. We use the Before seas, rivers, hotels, theatres and newspapers, like the Atlantic Ocean, the Mississippi River, the National, the newspaper, and the Four Seasons, the hotel. We use the if there is only one. The sun, the queen, the government. We use the with superlative adjectives. So he's the richest man in the world. She's the best student in the school. Richest, best, superlative adjectives. Sometimes we don't use a, an, or the. Sometimes you might want to use it, but it's best not to use it. Sometimes are. Before plural nouns and before uncountable nouns, when talking about things in general. That should be things, things in general. I like apples. Which apples? Any apples, apples in general. Milk is good for you. Not saying this milk or that milk, but milk in general is good for you. We also don't use a, an, or the before towns, meals, languages, magazines and airports. So, I had lunch with John, not I had a lunch with John, or I had the lunch with John. I live on Sheikh Zayed Street in Dubai, not on the Sheikh Zayed Street in the Dubai. We don't use a, an or the before most countries. So usually, I'm from England, he's from Oman. We use the before countries with words in the name, like state or kingdom or republic, like the United Arab Emirates. Compare, we could say Saudi Arabia, he's from Saudi Arabia, or he's from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He's from Britain, or he's from the United Kingdom. She's from America, or she's from the USA. So when it's just a name, we usually don't use a, an, or the, but when we have one of these words, kingdom, emirate, state, we use the.